it's always worth applying, because the worst thing that the admissions team can say is reject your offer or say no. The best thing would be that they say yes or say on a condition that you get this and this. Sometimes thought of as a negative thing, but with us, with UCFB, it's very much just another way to apply for the university and come and study here. Because they'd applied for a university in Manchester, they ended up going to UCFB Manchester, so they were in the same city as everywhere what they wanted to go and do. They were just potentially actually doing a course that was more relevant to what they wanted to do, because they were ended up doing football business and media, and they were looking at doing a media course, but they were mad into football.
Hi there, and welcome back to UCFB in the hot seat. And today I'm joined with Gareth Stobart, the Senior Regional Recruitment Officer. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so like you said, I'm Gareth. I'm the Senior Regional Recruitment Manager for UCFB for the South. We have one in the Midlands and we got one in the North as well. People that might have interacted with us at UCAS events or UK UniSearch events, or we might have been into your school or college, we've probably spoken to somebody that's been interested in UCFB. If not, you'll probably get familiar with us through the next couple of months through the clearing journey.
So something I really want to start with today is a predicament which a lot of students find themselves in, and that is clearing. So would you like to go into that?
Yeah, there's lots of different ways people can find themselves having to apply through clearing or needing to apply through clearing, because it might be that you've applied for somewhere and not necessarily got the grades that you wanted. It might be you've applied somewhere and you've not been offered a place, so you can't actually choose somewhere to go. It might be that you got your grades last year and you decided against going to university, and then you've realised, actually, I kind of want to go to university. My friends have gone and they've just said how good it is. It might be that they are studying with UCFB already and you've decided that you want to go there, but you already have your grades from the year before. There are so many different ways that you can go down that route, and it's sometimes thought of as a negative thing. But with us, with UCFB, it's very much just another way to apply for the university and come and study here. It doesn't mean that you are failing somewhere and you're never going to do anything with it. It's just an alternative pathway.
Something that the UCFB does, which I don't think some students initially realise, is obviously the utilisation of the foundation year. That's a big thing that students can use as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. If you think with the grades that you're predicted or the grades that you already have, that you think you might not be able to access one of our courses, it's always worth having a look through clearing on our website. Familiarise yourself with the courses, familiarise yourself with which of our courses have a foundation degree element to them. And then it's always worth applying, because the worst thing that the admissions team can say is reject your offer or say no. The best thing would be that they say yes or say on a condition that you get this and this, but at least you have an answer and you have a pathway where you can go down. If you don't apply, you might be stuck with, I'm not sure what to do. And then it comes to sort of September, October time when the clearing closes, and then you've got to wait a whole nother sort of at least until January for intake we'll be having in January. But if you wanted to wait for the whole year to come and start in September again, it might be the point where you actually have kind of run out of time for that. You might decide, actually, I'm just going to go and get a job, and then you've kind of potentially maybe missed that opportunity.
Would you say that during your time in this role, you've felt with a variety of different predicaments that students have found themselves in and almost had to adjust the way they thought about the UCFB?
Yeah, there's some students that have come to us with just about the minimum required to come and do a foundation degree. They had their results from the year before and they didn't think about what they wanted to do. They spent the year kind of working in a job and realized they wanted to come to university. So they've applied and they have now become students of ours in a foundation year. We've had some students last year on results day, didn't get the results they wanted. I've had answered the phone on clearing on results day to a mum that their son was devastated because they didn't get their results they wanted to go to the university they initially firmed up as their choice to go to. But then having a conversation with them and their parents about what opportunities there are at the university allowed them to understand that actually it's not the end of the world. And because they'd applied for a university in Manchester, they ended up going to UCFB Manchester. So they were in the same city as everywhere what they wanted to go and do. They were just potentially actually doing a course that was more relevant to what they wanted to do, because they were ended up doing football business and media, and they were looking at doing a media course, but they were mad into football. So it kind of made sense, and it actually ended up being kind of not necessarily the better choice. Well, I'd say it was a better choice coming to UCFB, but it was the choice that ended up making sense for what they wanted to go and do.
Being such a stressful decision, it's a necessity that you need to be able to trust the person that you're talking to. And just for a deeper understanding for anyone listening, would you like to go into how you actually found your area of expertise and where you are today?
Yeah, so obviously having gone to university, I understand kind of the processes of it. I also did a master's degree a few years ago with UCFB, so I understand kind of how the university works itself, but also then the processes of applying for a university and then the kind of clearing process along with that. And I think that just kind of lent into being able to come and kind of do this job and then showing people that route. What I find a lot of the time as well for people that maybe aren't sure about what UCFB offers or even careers in sport, there's so many people. It's no slight on like a careers advisor at a school or a college, but most of them haven't worked in the sports industry. That's just the nature of not many people necessarily do all the time. The careers advisors maybe say you could be a manager or you could be a coach, a player, or maybe a physiotherapist. But there are so many other jobs in the sports industry. And I find with the role that I'm in and showing people even through the clearing process, but either people coming on the phone and saying like, I'm not sure what to do, or even just at schools and colleges and at UCAS fairs, showing people there are so many different pathways and so many different jobs in the sports industry. It's really useful to go and research that and familiarize yourself with it because you can kind of work your way back. You find a job online, say in LinkedIn, somebody that's working at your favorite football club, and you're like, that sounds like a really good job. That's something I kind of want to go and do. What do I need to do to go and do that? Obviously, you need experience, you need contacts in football or in sports in general, but you work your way back. Okay, so they probably needed a degree for that job. What degrees are on offer? Most of the ones, especially on the business side at UCFB, are ones that you're going to be able to kind of take the skills and the knowledge and understanding from to go and do those kinds of jobs. And then you can work your way back from that. Okay, what UCAS points do I need? And then that's the first starting point. Okay, do you have that? Can you apply for clearing? Yes, great. And then you can kind of follow that pathway if you have that idea of where you want to go.
Do you find your role a very rewarding process in terms of helping students actually get to where they want to be?
Yeah, especially just as I said before, like with that understanding of not many people know the kind of roots in sport. It's back to like years ago, in the Stone Age when I went to school. Didn't know what routes and pathways there were in sport. I just was said I want to go and work in sport.
Hmm.
The only thing there was really available to me was to do coaching. Fortunately, I'm still coaching and working in that space alongside this job. So it's actually fortunate for me that I've kept that up. But it took quite a long time to be able to kind of have that fall into place. If you can hit that early and understand, okay, there are different ways to go. If you're really interested in the media side and you want to go work in TV, like there is an option for you to go and work your way back. What course at UCFB is going to help you do that? There are quite a few different ones to do that. So understanding that and then seeing people understand that actually kind of highlights to me that we're doing something that's worthwhile because people take that pathway that didn't used to necessarily be there.
Is when you first started this role, is there any tips that you were given that still sticks with you today?
I think big thing just for anyone, whether it's a job like this that I'm doing or whether it's a job in sport, is just being able to kind of speak publicly, speaking to people, and also kind of networking and having that opportunity to do so. It's a big part of what the university does, but it's also just a good skill that you can take into life. No matter what job you end up in, most jobs you have an element of being able to, even if it's just one-on-one with somebody. It might be you're speaking to a group of people, you might be speaking to people that you're managing, like depending where you're working, you could have a large group of people that you're managing or working with, and you need to be able to speak to them. But then also that networking side, especially in sport, especially in football, from my experience, a lot of the time you will get a job opportunity or at least an interview with somebody that probably knows somebody that you've worked with. So if you can make an impression, but also maintain those connections, that's going to help you along the way. But it's also the same in kind of my role. We want to keep those connections with the schools and colleges because it might be I went to school yesterday. If I then never contact them again, we're not going back to that school next year for their careers fair because they're not going to necessarily be interested. But if we can maintain those relationships, we can go back to those schools and again inspire more of their students, year 12 and 13 students, to potentially choose to come and study with us.
How many do you quite regularly go to different schools and display the university and how it is today?
Yeah, I'd say on average we do about 3 a week,
Okay.
alongside doing the national fairs, doing campus visits and doing the open days. So there's quite a lot of different ways you can interact with us, which would lead on to as well, if you are looking at applying for clearing and the application closes at the end of October. So there is a long time to do it, but it's better to do it early because you will have the time to apply for things like student finance, apply for accommodation. You will also be able to come to one of our open days in August. So on the 21st of August, we've got one in Manchester. And on the 28th of August, we have one at Archview House at our Wembley campus. So even if you've applied and you've got an offer, you might have that time to then come to an open day if you haven't already been to one, and be able to understand, okay, this is what I'm going to be going to do. And it might just give you a slightly clearer picture of what you're getting yourself in for. There are also webinars on our website that you can find, and there are loads of different ones that are coming up. So have a look, see which one might apply to you and appeal to you to help you understand where it is. And obviously quite a few of these sort of hot seat podcasts, there's ones with academics, there's ones with graduates, there's ones with students. Good way to get a feel for what it's like as well.
I personally have helped with a few of the open days as well, and I feel like they're something which is really valuable to students because, as well as you can explain uni really well, I think when they actually come onto campus, it really is a revolutionary thing.
Yeah, I think the big part I talk about a lot is obviously the degree is going to give you the skills and the experience in a university setting. What will help alongside that is the employability side. It's something that is going to allow people to develop themselves in the real world, take the skills that they've learned, but also finding that pathway as well. Because it might be you apply because you like the idea of the university and you like the idea of being able to study sport the whole time, but you still might not necessarily have a pathway where you want to go down. You just know you want to go into, say, media, but there are so many different areas in media that you can go into. There's lots of different ways you can interact with that. You might go and volunteer somewhere for a day. You might get an internship somewhere that's doing a completely different job to something that you volunteered in. But finding that place where you want to go, you might do one job, volunteer for a couple of days somewhere and go, actually, that's not for me. But at least you've had that time to do so, and you spend the 3 years with us kind of exploring where you want to go. The more you interact with it and the more you do with your degree and learning the skills and putting that into place with your placements and your work experience, then allows you to, when you do graduate, you've at least got an idea of where you want to go, if not a full kind of offer from somewhere you've already been working, which a lot of our graduates end up doing themselves.
In terms of finding something good out of your comfort zone, you obviously completed a postgraduate. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about your experience in that?
Yeah, so I do football coaching and analysis. I'd actually been working for about 6 years before that, doing part-time in the Royal Mail, but also working part-time as a football coach at Brighton, doing community stuff, but also doing some work with like the pre-academy.
Yeah.
From that, I decided actually, whilst I've got quite a bit of experience coaching, the kind of next step for that, a lot of coaches now are looking at the analysis side, especially with the growth of that informing coaching practice. So I wanted to kind of understand that. And so I decided to go to Manchester. Obviously, don't sound like I'm from anywhere near Manchester. I'm from a town called Lewes near Brighton, so quite far away from Manchester. And just moving up there, even though I was slightly older than maybe most people that go straight from undergraduate to postgraduate, it was that kind of moving somewhere completely different. Like, I'd never lived in the north of the country before. It was also back end of COVID, so the first half of the year I wasn't doing anything other than just studying. Kind of some of it wasn't in person, some of it was, but getting to meet some of the people that I was coaching and working with was really useful. And then the second half of the year, I ended up doing a part-time job with Man City doing analysis in the academy, which came about through UCFB, through the university. Managed to do that. Obviously, I moved back down to the south, ended up coming and working for UCFB to recruit students, because that passion I have now, especially in this job, is showing people that pathway, which I've mentioned quite a few times already, allowing and showing people that there is a way to access the industry, and it doesn't matter which way you do it. From the perspective of UCFB, it's about getting into the university, whether it's through clearing, whether it's you'd applied for UCAS and you haven't got what you needed, at least apply for UCAS. The worst we can say is no, but we're going to offer you potentially, if you haven't got enough to get in through clearing, you could potentially go retake a course, or you could go and do an access to higher education course. There's another way to do it. It might take an extra year, but that's only ever going to improve your potential and opportunity to go to university, and then again interact with the sports industry, how we offer it for UCFB.
I really liked what you said earlier about when applying, it's always best to do it early so then you can sort out things like student finance. Is that quite a confusing or difficult step for a lot of students to sort out?
I think the only part of student finance that most people struggle with is that we are partnered academically with the University of East London. So when you apply for a course, you put the course title in, but you need to put the institution as the University of East London. It's really important to do that because otherwise you'll get a letter a week or two later saying we can't find your degree course because you've put UCFB in the thing. So make sure it's University of East London because they are the academic partner who UCAS and student finance kind of work from, to then for you to come as a student with us.
And in your current role, you said you obviously answer the phone on results day. Is that the busiest period in your role, or is there other sections?
I'd say for a one day or 2 day period, that is the busiest time because we will be on the phones from sort of 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 p.m.
Okay.
And the phones will go constantly with people as soon as they've got their results. Ideally, again, even on results day, if you haven't got what you need, it's good to have that backup plan already and then be the first one to give us a call and be like, okay, I need to apply through clearing with UCFB because I haven't necessarily got what I was expecting. And it's very simple after you've done that, because once you've applied through clearing with us, all you'll need to do is, once you've got your offer, you will go on to UCAS and change your firm choice through clearing, which is on the UCAS account. You will be given a step-by-step guide of how to do that from UCFB. So it's quite a simple process to change that. If you haven't applied through UCAS this year, then you will be given what's called an RPA form to be able to allow us to get you a UCAS number, because then that follows the same UCAS process. It's just a slightly different way of doing it. But if you have applied for UCAS this year and you don't get what you were expecting, make sure to include your UCAS number on the application form, because it will help us link you to your account and it will just simplify the process as well.
Thank you for explaining that. And I think the important thing, which a lot of people listen who maybe have not seen any of the talks that you done at the schools or any of the open days, what would you say are a few unique selling points for UCFB itself?
I think most of the things we've already spoken about with the employability side, and just that the lecturers are very kind of expert in their field. Most of them work in the industry alongside what they're doing. So anything that comes up in the industry that's new, that's revolutionary, they are at the front edge of that. They can put that into the courses. That's also going to help you, because by the time you graduate and you've got all the latest knowledge and understanding of your subject area, when you go into the industry, they obviously already have that as well, and they're expecting people to have that knowledge and those skills and that understanding. If you don't have that, it's hard to then upskill yourself when you're trying to find a job at the same time, because you'll probably have to get a full-time job and then have to learn on the side. Whereas if you've already got that understanding, you can go and do that. The biggest part for me as well is the fact that on average, our students will do sort of 2 of the work experiences a year. I usually say to people at schools and colleges, that could be 2 different football clubs every year for your 3-year degree. That could be 6 different football clubs over that 3-year course. You could be working in the same kind of job, but you could work your way up from, as some of our students have done and graduates have done, work their way from the National League up to an internship in their final year at a Premier League club. So they've almost done 3 years. They've done, could be somebody's half of their career going from a National League club up to the Premier League. They've done it in 3 years as a student, leading on to that experience is on their CV. If they don't get opportunities and offered a full-time job from that internship or that placement or that work experience or that part-time job, they've at least got that foundation that they've worked at so many different football clubs. There's quite a few stories of graduates that we've had that applied for a job somewhere and they actually worked with the hiring manager at a different club while they were a student. So they already know the person hiring them. That's many steps up from somebody that's applying that's got no experience and has never met that person before, versus somebody that's worked with them at a different club and really impressed. I think I know who's getting hired for that job.
100%. It's all about the process you take. And as long as you put the effort in, I'm pretty sure you've proved that the trajectory is there at UCFB.
Yeah, definitely. You can see it on all of our, obviously, like the examples we use of graduates that have done well. If you find them on LinkedIn, which is what I do quite a lot at schools, I'll ask people who their favorite club is. If it's another sport, I'll ask them what favorite team they've got. Usually there's a graduate of ours working there, and you can find where have they worked while they've been studying at UCFB. And you can see that actually there is a pathway for them working their way up to either that Premier League club, that Championship club where they are. Obviously, we've got graduates that are working like FIFA and UEFA as well. Like you can see that pathway where they've got to and how they've got there.
Well, thank you, Gareth. I think we can take a lot from what you said today. So thank you for your time. You gave me some great answers. And for anyone that is interested about clearing or anything about UCFB, please check our website and our socials. And I'll speak to you soon.